Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Packers Daily on Cheesehead TV's social channels, coming to you live from New York City, a very small corner of New York City, but a corner nonetheless. Good to see everybody in the comments section. The Packers enter day 2 of the legal tampering period, which is, of course, a phrase that is an assault on the English language. But nevertheless, the Packers sitting out day 1 for the most part, obviously. A few bips and bops there. Malik Taylor tendered, etc. But for the most part, not a ton of activity. I think you can expect probably to see Alan Lazard and most likely Robert Tonyan, though I'm starting to wonder if they're maybe possibly working on an extension for Tonyan rather than placing a tender on him. But we'll see. Good to see everybody in the comments. Good morning, everybody. Yosh Neiman first. What a great priority. Well, they're just, you guys, they can walk and chew gum at the same time. They're just checking boxes. That's all they're doing. Good morning from Hershey, PA. What's up, man? How are you? We know nothing about Packers finances. For the most part, yeah. Although, of the 32 teams in the league, they're the team that we know the most about. I mean, it's still not a whole lot, but need a veteran defensive tackle. Yeah. I mean, I want to get Kenny help. I do think that help will most likely come through the draft, and I know it's not a deep draft when it comes to defensive tackle, but I do think there are one or two. He's the guy. He's a guy. Sorry, guys. Damn, didn't realize my sound was muted and missed the jam. Dan, that's why it's on. That's why we record it, and you can play it back later. It's all there for you. What does it do to the cap? Don't get me going. Cameron, thanks for the super chat. I get people upset we didn't keep Lindsley, but the idea that we got a backup running back in the second round is idiotic. Look at the past Super Bowl winners and the Titans game and tell me 2 good running backs is dumb. Cameron, here's the thing. I understand people saying that the Packers did not get good value. Of course, value is subjective, and people want to say there is only one way to judge value and what that means. That's where I part ways, because you can talk about it on a 30,000 foot view and try to apply a cookie cutter slash one size fits all template as to how roster construction should work. Clearly, the Packers have pretty different ideas comparative to the rest of the league. And somehow they keep winning a lot of football games year after year after year. Yes, there are twists and turns and dips and falls, etc. But for the most part, since 1993, they've won a boatload of games. And it's not a question of, I think, this way or saying that they drafted a running back in the second round and that's clearly a mistake. That's where I'm just like, come on. I thought, can't we evolve past this? I mean, that's such talk radio nonsense. Like, they valued that player differently than you, but they valued him. Now we can, sit here and watch it play out, and it'll be interesting to see how they utilize both Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. But they have their plan. Just because it's not your plan or how you would have done it doesn't mean it's wrong or idiotic, as people say. That's where so much of football analysis on the internet just loses me. There's one great prescribed way of building a team. By the way, almost 100% of the people opining on this shit on the internet have never had to do it, of course. So that's always fun. Lawrence, thanks for the super chat. Will there be an Adams or Jair extension this offseason now that we signed Aaron Jones? Not sure if you've been asked this. Lawrence, I've been asked, but always happy to talk about it. I think, yes, Adams, I will be shocked if it doesn't get done this offseason. Jair, I think it's a possibility. They do have the 5th-year option sitting out there because he was a first-round pick. So he is still under control for at least one more year past this. I do think they'd prefer to get an extension done sooner rather than later, though. Dustin, thanks for the super chat. Whoa. Sorry. Is Zaven Collins too much to wish for in the first? I don't know. I don't know too much about him yet. I haven't really dove into too much of the draft class yet. Starting to look at corners. But, I just don't dismiss it. How many times have you seen people say, "Oh, this will never happen," or "That will never happen," or "That guy'll never be there," and then he's there? Now, maybe the Packers don't take him, but maybe he'll be there. You never know. Oh, da, 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 da. Oh, da, da, da. Nuclear family, thanks to the super chat. Rams were 37 million over the cap and signed Floyd to a huge deal. How? How do you feel about Cordell Patterson or Danny Shelton or Curtis Samuel? I know there's been a bit of a groundswell for Samuel lately. I'd be surprised if the Packers are in on him, though. Danny Shelton, I liked him as a player early on in his career. If the cost is right, I like him as a rotational guy in Green Bay. Certainly would like to see him playing next to Kenny. I think they need more than that, though. And Cordell Patterson, talented guy. I can't see him in Green Bay. I don't see him as a fit. That doesn't mean they won't make a call, though. And to your eternal gratitude, probably I am not the general manager, and you never know what avenues Brian's going to go down. As far as the Rams being 37 million over the cap and signing Floyd to a huge deal, come on, we all know this is all about you know uh, cap language, how they structure bonuses, how they um, spread out the cap hits, so to speak. He may have a huge deal that is very minimal cap hit wise in the first year of the deal, and that's how they're able to get it under the cap. That's what the Packers did when they extended David Bakhtiari and Kenny Clark, making Bakhtiari the highest paid left tackle, but he had a very small cap hit initially last year and this year. Kenny Clark's the same way. It's all about how you structure the contract. TKM, thanks for the super chat. 2 NFC championship games 2 years in a row. Great leadership in the front office. Great to be a Packer fan. Let's get the Lombardi home again this year. Now, TKM, you are talking some sense. Look at that. It's good to see it on the timeline here. Kid Jones play linebacker or punt? LOL. Brandy, by the way, I emailed you. Haven't heard back. Dang it, Tomlinson to the Vikings isn't what I like to see. Yeah, saw that last night. I knew it was a pipe dream. It just hurts even more that he's going to Minnesota. Although it is interesting, Minnesota loading up on defensive tackles. I mean, they're going to be hard to run on, but probably has some time to throw it, especially with Daniil Hunter now making noise and wanting to be traded, etc. I don't know how they're going to rush the passer, but they are definitely going to be stout up front. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, like I said, I knew Tomlinson was probably a no-go in Green Bay. Really like him as a player, and now he's a Viking. Tunyon news, nothing yet, Ben. They've got about 11 hours now to figure this out. My hunch would be they're trying to get an extension done rather than just slap a tender on him, but we'll see. Good morning, Melissa. How are you? I think they will pursue Fuller or AJ Green. No, I saw there was a report out there about AJ Green. I'd be shocked if that's anything more than just calling to say, hey, if you want to come play for the league minimum. But even that, I think, is just cursory kind of fact finding. As far as Fuller, I said yesterday, and I've pretty much said since Rob reported it, Domofsky wouldn't have put that out there without some true, real info behind it. So I tend to think, yeah, Fuller's a real legit possibility. And I saw yesterday we were talking about Corey Davis. He signed with the Jets overnight. So much for that. I really like him as a player. We'll see what happens in New York with Davis. But Fuller definitely is out there and a possibility for Green Bay. But we'll see. I mean, I think a lot of it will depend on, clearly the Packers weren't willing to budge off their 4th round pick offer last year, but that's working with the team. I don't know how much they value that wide receiver, getting that big, fast wide receiver opposite Adams. If that's something they feel is a dire kind of situation, they have to do it. I would tend to doubt it. I think it'll be much more along the lines of, hey, we know you're getting calls. If you don't get something that blows your mind, blows everything out of the water, if you don't get some huge deal, let's circle back and let's talk about possibly coming to Green Bay and maybe not getting a insane, killer above market deal, but an ability to play with Aaron Rodgers for a few years, pump up your numbers, and get a chance to win a ring. Funny people trashing the Jones signing without mentioning they've signed the best free agent available. Interesting. Patriots just signed Hunter Henry. Well, there you go. I mean, the Patriots love their tight ends. They love utilizing more than one. That's for sure. Mm. Fuller is made out of glass. Well, yeah, and he's also filling out a suspension. So a lot of reasons to be wary. No doubt about it. I'm worried this is our only free agent signing because we have no money. Why would you worry? Does it do any good? Does it change anything? Does it help the situation? No? Then why worry? But again, if there's a player out there that they absolutely want to sign, they will be able to sign them. Just make no mistake about that. Even if people worry about the cap situation, it's like even if the Packers had $40 million worth of cap space, they still wouldn't be out there going crazy. I do think the reset Brian had 2 years ago with all that early activity, that first 2 days of free agency, has kind of maybe warped expectations a little bit that Brian was going to be different than Ted. It's pretty clear that Brian is Ted 2.0 with a little bit more access media-wise and just a tiny bit more aggressive in free agency. I think he is going to draft and develop, and he is going to pick over the values that are there in free agency. 2 years ago, he desperately needed to reset the defensive side of the ball, and that's what he did in free agency. A lot of times that is utilized when you have made mistakes in the draft. And I think that's what came to a head 2 off seasons ago. But I would not expect anything near that most off seasons under Brian's tenure. That's just my opinion, looking at the tea leaves, so to speak. Packers still have a great roster. Brandy, yes. Yes, they do. It's amazing how many people watch all the headlines being made and moves being, guys being signed, moves being made, etc., and just not freak out, but just go, "Oh, the Packers aren't doing anything." Well, the Packers have a really good team. Yes, they have to improve in areas and they have to develop in areas, but they're still a really good roster. And I know that doesn't get the clicks, but it's the truth. Is Galladay a fit? He would be. What fit didn't he sign last night? I don't know. So many signings, I lose track. That said, I'd be shocked if the Packers were able to kind of bring him in. I think he's going to get top dollar in free agency, and I don't think the Packers are willing to go there. But yeah, he would be a fit. He's a big guy, can fly, good blocker at the point of attack in the run game, on the perimeter. Yeah, he'd be a fit. Is Josh Jackson the current number 2 on the depth chart, Christopher? There is no depth chart on March 16th, is it? 16th, yeah. There's no depth chart right now. I was a big fan of his going into the draft, mainly because he embarrassed my Badgers with a couple pick sixes. Well, yeah, Christopher, he is on the roster. Will he be the number 2? We'll see. He was a healthy scratch down the stretch last season, which never bodes well. Of course, a lot of that is due to the fact that he was not contributing on special teams. He filled in for Kevin King for a few weeks last season, and I thought he played better than expected. I don't think anyone's going to confuse him for a top flight cornerback, but a guy you can get through a game and win with. I don't think there's any doubt there. Now, they lost the game down in Tampa, but for the most part, I think, he's going to have his kind of last shot, so to speak, in camp. Maybe this is an outside chance, but maybe somebody comes calling during the draft or leading up to the draft and offers a change of scenery type trade. Probably not for a pick. I would think for a player. I have no idea what player, so don't ask. But like a player that hasn't put it together in their organization, so they say, "Hey, do you want to swap guys?" Because it's clear Josh hasn't kind of come along as you expected through his first 3 years. Let's have change of scenery for these guys and see if it kind of sparks something. That's a possibility. Mitchell, thanks for the super chat. Worrying about the cap as a fan is like my daughter worrying about our bills. Just enjoy the ride and don't worry about it. Mitchell, I mean, okay, look, I used to worry about the cap. I don't worry about the cap anymore. I'm very much in your camp in regards to it doesn't affect my life. It ain't my money. I understand people who do. I get it. I totally get it. And I'm all for if people want to get educated about the cap and want to dive into the particulars of roster construction that way, knock yourself out, man. Go to it. It just ain't for me. Like, man, I got out of school so I could stop doing that kind of work. Like I love football and I love watching good football players. And I get it. I get it, man. I get people wanting to break down the roster bonus and how it prorates and, how they can put things together and how they might be able to afford a certain free agent or uh, restructure contracts so they can open up cap space and all that. And, knock yourself out. And of course, the problem is in the offseason, the NFL has the longest offseason. So talk about the cap and draft value and all that stuff takes on like these months long conversations, which just like makes me want to put a bullet in my brain. But I understand, again, I understand why people like it. I understand why people gravitate to it, but it just ain't my thing. What are my thoughts on Sherman to the Packers? I'd be very surprised if they paid Richard Sherman to come play in Green Bay. I think he's still a good player. I think he definitely helped them. I'd be surprised if they allocated free agency dollars there. That's my thought. Kevin King's still available. Yes, Nathan? Yes, he is. He's said to be a free agent here in one more day. Aaron, would you be willing to have a socially distanced frosty beverage when you come to Green Bay for training camp? Oh, you better believe it. Corey and I are cooking up all sorts of fun stuff for training camp. Be on the lookout. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Did Jamal sign with someone? Not yet, Matt. Not that I've seen anyway, unless it's happened since I've gone live. Let's see what else we got. Mr. Inglewood, thanks for the super chat. Will the pack draft EQ's brother? I would love it. I tend to doubt it though. Cameron, thanks for the super chat. I think running back, with the exception of guys like AJ Dillon, are so multi-dimensional now. Looking at the Kamaras, McCaffreys, and Aaron Joneses, even the guys coming in this draft class. I mean, you say exception of guys like AJ Dillon, and I know he's a bigger guy, a bigger back, etc. But I mean, he's still developing. You could be a weapon out of the backfield. Now I understand he's a certain type of back, big bruiser guy, but I mean, don't put limitations on him just yet. We'll see how he develops. But I hear you, and I think that's what the Packers recognized in Aaron Jones. The multifaceted weapon. People are so fixated on who he's running back one. No, he's a weapon one. I kick ass 44. Thanks for the super chat. Maybe a hot take. Jones plus Dillon is more versatile backfield than with Jamal, just due to their different running styles. Your fave thoughts? Thoughts? Yeah, I think the potential is definitely there. I think Dillon is going to be a much better player than Jamal Williams, and that's no knock on Williams. Big B, if you're here, love you, man. But I do think the upside is there for Dillon to be much more dynamic, and you pair him with Jones, who is weapon one and one of the best all-around players in the league. And yeah, I think it's going to be hella dynamic and a lot of fun to watch. Guys, and I know I've seen a couple people mention, like, yes, I miss super chats while I'm talking, and then I try to go back and get them. I'm not going to hit every single one of them, but just have patience. I can't just unless you want me to give one-word answers and then just hit every super chat, then fine. That's great. It's going to be a hella boring chat, though. Stanley, thanks for the super chat. True slot receiver will be perfect for the Matt LaFleur offense. See, I go back and forth on this because, yeah, I would agree conceptually, but it sure is hard to imagine Green Bay, this personnel staff, the way they put teams together, especially with the work that the wide receivers are asked to do in the run game, blocking wise, the physicality required. I can't imagine them going out of their way to acquire a specific slot type receiver. And that's not just because it's something they've seemingly eschewed through the last, decade plus. But I just think in this system, the way they've kind of put things together, you better be able to lock things down on the perimeter there. They have these guys come in and play in line sometimes. You've seen Lazard go up against defensive ends. And obviously, you're not going to draw it up so that your slot guy does that, but you never know where Aaron's going to go with the ball at the line of scrimmage. You might be spreading it out, and all of a sudden, you might have a guy motion in, and all of a sudden, we put the back in the backfield who was usually had been split out. Now, all of a sudden, it's a running play, and you better be able to block. And, that's obviously very simplified, but I do think there's something there in the sense of like, I would love the idea of a slot guy, a real quick twitch guy working through the middle, making things real problematic for linebackers and safeties. I'm all in on that. But I do wonder how much they kind of shy away from that, given what those wide receivers are asked to do uh, physicality wise. That's just my only real kind of thing I wonder about there. Cameron, thanks for the super chat. Bill Belichick spending like he's got his stimmy earlier than just landed Hunter Henry, too. We talked about that. But yes, I think I said it on Twitter yesterday. I get it's a bit of a surprise to watch the Patriots go hog wild, but they are doing kind of what the Packers did 2 years ago in a much more robust way because now they don't have a quarterback. They're resetting their roster. Brian came to a point when he's looked at the defense and thought, oh my God, we need talent. We've got nothing. That's why he went and spent. And that's what Bill's doing right now. You saw their team last year. They were terrible. They had no talent. Now, some of that was because of opt-outs, because of COVID, but a lot of it was just because they were talent depleted. And this offseason is very much Bill resetting things. And I can't say I'm surprised. Is Kirk Cousins a liability? In what regard? I mean, I think he's a pretty serviceable quarterback, bordering on good. He can certainly be effective if things line up correctly. I think where the Vikings maybe get into trouble is he's not able to create on his own. He's not a guy who's going to will you to victory. He's going to create stuff and make things happen when things break down. But if the running game is working and the protection is decent, yeah, he can stand back there and distribute the football. I don't know if I'd call that a liability. Day 2 of free agency and Goot remains on his wallet. Shocking. Nathan, what should he be doing? Just remember, headlines in March don't mean winning games in December and January. Usually. More often than not. Any word if they are working a Z restructure? Justin, yes, they are. No doubt about it. We'll see when it gets done, if it gets done in the next day or two. But yes, that is being worked on. Absolutely. With all the roster changes to the Bears, we all know they'll still suck. Sean, putting it succinctly and perfectly. That's a great place to leave it. I can't thank you guys enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day here on Packers Daily. Really means a lot that you utilize Cheesehead TV in any way to consume your love for the Packers here online. There's a lot of places you can go. That you choose Cheesehead TV at all really means a lot to us. Please do hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends, tell your family, Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide.